Hey everybody, it's vanburman here. Welcome to my top 5 games of 2015. And I just want to preface the video first by saying thank you very much for watching, that's one thing. And also, this video is purely based on the games that I've played this year. So a couple of honourable mentions that won't be in it are Metal Gear Solid 5 and Bloodborne. I think that maybe if I'd have been able to play both of them, they might have made their way on the top 5, I don't know. But because I didn't get a chance to play them, I just wanted to make that point that they are thought of. So if you're a big fan of those games, then that's fine. Like I say, they probably might have got on there, probably in the 5th spot. To be fair, I'm pretty happy with my top 4. But I hope you enjoy it, and yeah, just bear that in mind when you watch the video. Thank you very much, guys. Hope you enjoy it.
Number 5. So, number 5 goes to Total War Rome 2 Attila, which of course is the standalone expansion to Rome 2 Total War, which I believe was in my last year's top 5 as well. Now, one of the great things I really do like about Attila is that it not only sort of captures the setting of the particular era, which obviously is to do with Attila the Hun and the barbarian invasion, for those of you that have also played Rome 1 as well, Total War, and it sort of does make you feel in that era. It's a lot darker than Rome 2. It's a lot more about survival as opposed to conquest. Obviously that does depend on which faction you decide to play with. If you are the Huns, of course, then you're the ones going around doing most of the destruction, but otherwise you're there trying to hold on and consolidate your lands mainly. I think it comes across pretty well. The game is very difficult, even for the easy factions. There's a lot of things that can scupper you in it, and on the other side of it there's also a lot of destruction in the game. So, people will attack your settlements with no sort of ambition of taking it. So in fact they're just there to basically destroy everything and loot and pillage, which I could keep saying is in keeping with the time. They've also released quite a nice expansion, which is the Age of Charlemagne, which I think is £10, $15, or whatever that is in your local currency. And I quite like this. This is the dawn of medieval sort of warfare. So it's about the time you start getting knights and, armies are more sort of formed around that side of things. Sort of after the drop-off of Attila the Hun, shall we say. And it's mainly focused on Western Europe, of course, Charlemagne being king of the Franks and the founder of the Holy Roman Empire. That's not really too much of a spoiler, that's just history. And if that's something that, interests you, then, it's going to be well worth the rating on this list anyway. I do maybe feel as though it's a little bit of a cop-out for not giving us a medieval 2, 3 even, but it is nice to see it included, and I have been having a bit of fun with it. It is very difficult though, I must say, as you will probably tell from the clip I'm playing in this video. I did lose when and my king died when I thought I'd actually won the battle. So, things can turn pretty quickly. I'm not sure they've got all the balancing sorted with the archers and everything yet, but that's the sort of style gameplay you're looking at getting from it. I'd say it's worth the £10 in my opinion so far. I just need to play a bit more and not had much chance to. But overall, Attila deserves number 5 slot on this list. I think they did learn from the mistakes with Rome 2, and I just quite like the gritty setting to it. Number 4. So this one could be seen as a little bit controversial. The game didn't actually come out until, it's not even out at all yet. It's in early access at the minute on Steam, and it is, of course, Killing Floor 2, as you can see. Killing Floor 2 has been released on early access, and I've been really enjoying it. Really enjoy Killing Floor 1, and I know it's not been officially released as a fully fledged title. However, I have enjoyed it that much, and I think it has released enough content, if not more than some games that have been released this year. Battlefront. Anyway, that was a bad joke. Regardless of all of that, Killing Floor 2 has, for me, been one of the best games of the year. It came out at the right time. It came out just before we had The Witcher come out, way before Fallout was even announced. And it filled a big gap. It's a game that I really enjoyed playing with my friends online, especially a couple of friends I have in America. So we were able to get back on that and had some really good times. While it was still very early, there's been a lot more stuff that's been released now, which is great. The blood and the gore, and basically, it's just a lot of fun. I mean, I think that is the reoccurring theme throughout this top 5 list. If a game is a lot of fun, then it makes up for much of its shortcomings, quite frankly. This game does have more content in it than the Star Wars game, Battlefront. Just for that, really, it sort of deserves a mention. It's a lot cheaper than that. Obviously, it's only on Steam. It will be coming to PS4, I believe, that I've heard. And, the developers, Tripwire Interactive, are well known for releasing more and more content for their games. Killing Floor 1, I believe, I don't even know if it is still supported, but it was supported for years afterwards. I only got into Killing Floor probably 3 or 4 years after it was released. And even then, Halloween, Christmas, they're releasing updates for it all the time, with new content, new enemies, or normally just re-putting in the old enemies that they'd made from last year. But, nevertheless, there was new campaign missions and everything. And Killing Floor 2 is only going to go from strength to strength. I don't know if, because I've included it this year, means it can be in next year when it's fully released. We'll have to see what improvements they bring with it then. But I've really enjoyed Killing Floor, and I just like the co-op PvE aspect of it. I quite enjoy games like that. That's just one of those things. It's definitely worth picking up. It is on Steam sale as well if you're watching this during the Christmas period in 2015. 33% off. So go and grab one, because it's definitely worth playing. Definitely worth your time. Number 3. So we're now halfway through the list, and we come to what was the winner of the Best Independent Game in the Game of the Year Awards, and that is Rocket League. You've probably seen quite a few videos that I put out regarding Rocket League. I really enjoyed it, and the reason that it sort of grabbed me so much is I was really so surprised by it. I was expecting a pretty shallow game, basically just a hyped up mini game from the Wii, I suppose. And what we actually got, in fact, was a really fun and addicting multiplayer game that, I played with a lot of people from work, played a lot of it by myself as well. And it's one of those games that truly does define the mantra that, it's easy for a beginner to pick up, but it's difficult to master it. Just like the techniques of scoring flying goals and being able to time your jumps right and using the right jump in the right situation. All of that, just combined, just sort of makes the game just a load of fun. And I think that's the thing. It's not graphically impressive. The soundtrack isn't, the best soundtrack I've ever heard. The gameplay probably, isn't even the best, for cars and the physics. But that doesn't matter, because the game is a lot of fun. There's a simple objective for both teams, for both, people. You got to hit the ball. You got to put the ball in the back of the net. It's car football. It's not difficult to grasp the concept of the game. But the fact is, they do it really well. It's obviously a follow-on from their first game, which was Battle Cars, I believe, if that's what it was called, which I never got around, I never played, never even heard of it until Rocket League had come out. And the great thing about Rocket League as well is that Sony released it as one of their PSN Game of the Months. So I actually got it for free. So getting it for free, and then it being such a good game on top of that, is just like Christmas come early. That was my Christmas. Makes it sound really sad. No, but you know what I mean. And I don't begrudge them for the DLC that they put out either. They put out new cars, and it's purely cosmetic. All the cars function exactly the same. Just if you want something that looks a bit different, is a bit shiny, they released the Back to the Future car, which, by the way, looks really good. I mean, I haven't gone out and bought it myself, but if that's the sort of thing you really like, then it's, definitely worth the DLC, cost. And the fact that it doesn't impact, that car's no quicker than the other cars. Some people say, oh, well, it's quicker. Well, no, it just looks quicker. That's the point. You're at no disadvantage by picking one car over another. And that's DLC practice done right, in my opinion. The game is such a lot of fun as well. I'm really glad it won an award. I was a bit sort of dubious as to whether it would win that category, but it has done. Fully deserved. Congratulations, the Rocket League team. I can't remember. I won't try and pronounce it. It's like phonics or something like that. Probably got that totally wrong. I look forward to seeing what else they'll be releasing in 2016, if they've got anything in the pipelines, and more Rocket League, hopefully. Even though, I must say, the standard of competition, especially on the rank matches now, has increased 3 or 4-fold. And a lot of people are getting really good at the game. Whereas I used to be probably one of the best, I now consider myself pretty low down on the pecking order. Such is life, and such is the time that people put into Rocket League. Number 2. So I've decided to hand my number 2 spot to the to the official game of the year, which is of course The Witcher 3. The visuals on it are absolutely incredible. Second to not many, I must say, especially this year. It's got to be one of the most beautiful games I have seen. The soundtrack is amazing. I believe it actually did win the best soundtrack as well. So, it has been well deserved of that accolade. It's just that it falls short for me a little bit in some aspects. I really was not a fan of the combat. They seem to have perhaps even diluted it a bit more since The Witcher 2. And I wasn't hugely keen on The Witcher 2's combat system, but it wasn't that bad that I found myself was able to get over it because I really enjoyed the story. Witcher 3, I have really enjoyed the story in that as well. Unfortunately, I haven't actually got around to completing it. It didn't grab me enough. Don't get me wrong, The Witcher 3 is a wonderful example of an RPG, and I'm always happy when great RPGs come out and do well. The Witcher 3 did well, and deservedly so. Of course, it won Game of the Year, and it won a load of other awards from a load of other people. So, unfortunately, in this one, from me, it doesn't win, but it's a good second. I think that when you look at the game that has won, or is number one, you'll realise that The Witcher 3 is not far off having won, and any other year, The Witcher 3 would win. Much like you could say, Project Red always do a really good job with their games. It's very polished. It's not a complete open world, of course, which is what we was sort of got the idea that it would be. Unfortunately, that didn't come to pass. However, the areas that you are given are really big. The storyline, the voice acting is all really good. It's all really solid. Probably some of the best in video games, if I'm totally honest. It is something to be commended, and it sets it apart from a lot of other games, of course. I really enjoyed a lot of the side quests, and I was enjoying the main storyline until, I got caught up in other games that were being released shortly after then. I didn't actually get around enough time to finish it. I did get a fair way through the story though, and it is something that I will go back to and revisit. One of the main problems that I did have with the game was there was a certain point there where I actually, and I'm not afraid to admit it, I did use cheats to get through it. I downloaded a trainer which basically activated the one-hit kill function in order to take down a vampire, which was part of a storyline quest where I couldn't go back and get an item that would allow me to kill the vampire. I wasn't equipped for it. There was no mention that would be coming up at all in the quest, and the fact that I had to do that did leave a very sour taste in my mouth. There was no way I could defeat it because it was regenerating health too much, and I had no way to counterattack or counter that at all. So that's on that mission design. There's a bit of a flaw there, but luckily, as I've got it on PC, there's always a way around it. So that does sort of take away from it slightly. But The Witcher 3, I think, is a perfect example of a modern RPG doing it well, and in a lot of people's eyes being the best game of the year. In my eyes, being a very close second, and it's definitely, we've definitely been spoiled this year with RPGs, I think, in general, with this coming out and the number one spot coming out, which, you don't really don't need to be a psychic to work out what that's going to be. And for vanburman's Game of the Year, number one. If you've been watching my channel at all, you're probably fed up to the teeth with this particular game, but it has won my best game of the year. I haven't had a game in so long that has engrossed me as much as this game, that I've just poured countless hours into and enjoyed every single hour. There had been a point where I didn't want to go and do the main story, and I wanted to try and put that off as long as possible and go and do everything else, to go and do as much of the side quests as possible and just really soak up the whole world and the universe. There's always something to go and do in the game. You can sit down and think, I'm just going to play it for 20 minutes. No, 3 hours later you're still playing. And that's a sign of a truly brilliant game. Quite frankly, is the perfect version of Fallout. I played Fallout 3. Fallout 4 has now come out and totally usurped it. Not only that, there's so much more to look forward to with Fallout. We've got a ton of DLC that Bethesda are going to release. All the mods that are being created now have already been created and will be created in the future, which we get with Bethesda games. The game is a lot more stable compared to the other iterations of Fallout, particularly 3 and New Vegas, which crashed all the time. This, I've had like 2 crashes, 3 crashes max, and all the stuff that they've added, the customization, it's not too deep and it's not too shallow. They've also really refined some of the elements from Fallout 3, and they've also kept, these great and amazing variety of characters. There's just so much to it. There's so much in the deep storytelling. Bethesda seem to get this right time and time again. So hats off to them, and they fully do deserve to get Game of the Year. They kept this game under wraps for so long. They announced it 2015, released in 2015. And all the hype that was behind it is fully deserving, and fully deserving of winning Game of the Year this year. I've had such a great time on this game, and I'll be playing it probably well into 2016 as well. And I think that is the sign of a truly great game. It's going to go down as probably, one of the classics. It's an RPG masterpiece for what it does, for the open world RPG shooter sort of hybrid thing that it's got going on. You can't think of anything more perfect than what it does in that post-apocalyptic setting. I'm gushing a bit now, but obviously it's won number one, so you have to. That's the rules, I think, when you present a game winning, Game of the Year. It's well worth every single penny of its cost. I do feel like I've definitely had my money's worth out of the game. So much so, in fact, that depending on what DLC they release, I'll probably go out and buy the Season Pass. And I'm really against Season Passes and DLC in general. But Bethesda seem to do it right, so I'm willing to give them a chance on this one. It sold 13 or more than 13 million copies. It's one of the fastest selling games of all time, one of the most sold games of all time, and it's deserving of it. More so, I know I really like The Witcher 3. I know The Witcher 3 is a lot more polished, different, but for me, personally, Fallout 4 has to win. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you agree with me, you might disagree wholeheartedly. There are, of course, some games I missed. I mentioned at the start of the video. So please bear that in mind when you're judging my particular video. And I hope you all have a great 2016. Be sure to check out my worst games of 2016 list when that comes out. 2015, even. Sorry. Thank you very much, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.